As much as we thought there was shenanigans and bullshit and it's just a puppet show and there's no way anybody could buck the system, turns out voting is still real. So,
because while they're taking their victory lap and they're very happy, of course, to have won, and they feel affirmed in all their views, somewhere deep down, they have to understand and be tormented by how hypocritical, dishonest, and damaging they are as figures. That
Jim Jordan, one of the absolute worst of the MAGA right-wing Republicans, was on CNN with Dana Bash talking about voter fraud. They're still talking about this, even though they won. We're going to take a look at clips of Jim Jordan on CNN with Dana Bash. Luke Beasley broke all this down on his show. We'll take a look at clips of Luke Beasley as well. And I will also share my thoughts from time to time on this. Let's get into this together.
Who'd you vote for?
Either. Well, that's why they came out. So on top of the economy, on top of the price of gas, on top of the inflation, that's why they voted for President Trump.
We're out of time. I just want to say for the record that there was no evidence of widespread fraud in 2020. It went through many, many different court cases. And I do think, and I do think the name calling,
that's what I was concerned about.
The name calling was very strong on the Republican side of the aisle from the former president, and you know that. So thank you for being here. Appreciate you going through all.
It is funny how when they win an election, they say, see, this proves that we were correct about everything. But then whenever Biden won the election, it proves it was stolen. Okay. Yeah, we see. We see. And I'm really trying to keep us all in a better mood because I don't need to add stress to an already really stressful moment. But it is one of the most infuriating things, as I told you during the Joe Rogan segment, that this is being said.
So, turns out voting works. It's real. As much as we fucking thought they had it rigged, as much as we thought there was shenanigans and bullshit and it's just a puppet show and there's no way anybody could buck the system, turns out voting is still real. So,
here's what I want to deliver to all of you in terms of a more hopeful, positive message. We are going to be getting to work. I want to be, and we're going to lay out relatively soon how I think this show can play a role in that. And then if everyone does their part, come next election, even just the midterms, we're going to see something truly incredible. But take pride in the fact that you have the correct foundational principles. Because while they're taking their victory lap and they're very happy, of course, to have won, and they feel affirmed in all their views, somewhere deep down, these MAGA folks, Jim Jordan, Joe Rogan, and others who have perpetuated such deteriorating, destructive lies about our democracy, somewhere deep down, they have to understand and be tormented by how hypocritical, dishonest, and damaging they are as figures. That
I think Luke Beasley has a really great point here. One of the things that is a bit difficult about MAGA and just these far-right individuals in general is kind of trying to figure out who the true believers are and who are just grifters. You know, I'm not 100% sure about Jim Jordan. I think Jim Jordan is smart enough that he knows this is all BS. Some of them are not so smart. You know, I wonder about a Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think she's smart enough to realize that she's only grifting and that she's sold her soul to Donald Trump. You know, I guess you could say these people are wiping, you know, if they have any remorse or deep down in their soul feel any guilt, they're wiping their tears away with $100 bills. But you just have to wonder at these people just groveling at Donald Trump's feet like a dog. You know, he's going to have Marco Rubio in his cabinet. You know, you think about all the horrible things that Donald Trump said about Marco Rubio, horrible things that he said about Ted Cruz and called his wife ugly. I mean, could you imagine going to work for somebody that said those kind of things about you and your family? I mean, I've worked for some pretty horrible people. They never insulted me in the way that Donald Trump insults people, but I would never go back to work for those people. I mean, there's not an amount of money in the world that I would lose my self-respect to go and work for some of the terrible bosses that I previously had, and none of them were as bad as Donald Trump.
That has to eat away at your conscience. It just has to. And while it feels really terrible because we know what the outcome could be, that we lost in this election, I do take pride in the fact that, just like I told Republicans, if they beat us, because we do respect facts in our democracy, would accept it. Unlike y'all crying for 4 years about fabricated fraud claims and doing everything you could to undermine the integral part of our entire system, which is our democratic process. I don't know how, but it feels like somehow cosmically that can't be good for them. And when we win, we know it was a win built on truth, a win built on a dedication to beautiful, fantastic, and universally beneficial principles. They won electorally. Morally, I cannot imagine how this feels. Because having to do that little bait and switch, never mind, we're kidding. That whole fraud thing, don't worry about it. Unless you win next time, then we're going to bring it back. It's just as bad as it gets. It's the most succinct embodiment, that one little clip and ones like it, of why MAGA has to be opposed so much. Because they don't like to participate in our democratic process. They don't love our country. They don't love the system that allows our country to function unless they win, which is not how it works. And so thank you to all of you for having those better morals, having actual strong pro-American, pro-Constitution, pro-democracy principles.
Now, one thing that I would disagree with Luke Beasley here, I think he likes the Democratic Party a lot more than what I do. I would like nothing more than the Democratic Party and the Republican Party to go away and be replaced by a progressive party, a good progressive party, and then we could have a conservative party, an honest conservative party, not made up of people like these MAGA creeps. That said, the Democrats are definitely the lesser of the two evils. So I don't know that the Democrats always have the moral high ground. Compared to MAGA, just about any, Charles Manson has the moral high ground. It's like you could find almost anyone that would be better than MAGA. One thing that I think we've seen, Luke Beasley is talking about positives here, and one thing we kind of got a glimmer of hope was, two things. You had John Thune, who's going to be the Senate Majority Leader, instead of Rick Scott. And right-wing pundits and a lot of the MAGA politicians are already freaking out over this. And this would signal to you maybe that there are some somewhat sane Republicans maybe still alive within the actual party system who don't want MAGA to be in control of everything. Now, who knows? John Thune has had a lot of opposition to Donald Trump, and maybe he'll just roll over like everybody else. We've seen a lot of never-Trumpers who just rolled over and now they're full-blown MAGA. So it remains to be seen what will happen there, but that could be a positive. The other is the absolute clowns that Donald Trump is putting in place. Fox News hosts and Matt Gaetz in these major positions. So that's the other bit of hope that I hold on to, is that Donald Trump is such an idiot that he's only going to put people who are loyal to him in place rather than people who will actually be competent and good at their jobs. I always say, I've said over and over again, there will be no Rex Tillerson in this administration. Rex Tillerson, I imagine, not a great human being, considering that he was an oil company CEO, but not a lunatic and seemingly a pretty competent person. And he didn't last all that long in Trump's administration. So, if Donald Trump were surrounding himself with former Bush administration people, if he had someone similar to a Dick Cheney in this administration, things could get real scary. But I think these are going to be such bumbling morons that Trump is surrounding himself, just like in 2016, and there will be continual turnover. So they're probably not going to be able to accomplish a lot of their evil plans. But what do you think about what do you think about what Luke Beasley has to say here? What do you think about figures like Jim Jordan? The guy's just insufferable to me. And, you know, we're going to be right back at it with the next election with the claims of voter fraud and stealing elections. It's going to happen. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe if you haven't done so. I'm almost at 40,000 subscribers. Took a little bit of a dip right after the election, but I want to keep growing. And if you like content that I'm putting out here and want to see more of it, make sure to give me a subscribe. This is Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.